evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I'd like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of August 2nd, 2023. The City Council meets all requirements of the State of Washington Open Public Meetings Act. Community members are welcome to join either in person, remote via Zoom, or by calling in. For those who wish to participate in a future meeting on Zoom, you'll find the instructions to register for public comment on the City of Everett website under the City Council Department. Please note, we do not allow comments on any kind of campaigning, whether for or against ballot measures or candidates running for office. We also do not accept comments focused on personal matters that are unrelated to city business. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin.
Excused.
Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
Councilmember Schwab.
Here.
Councilmember Fossey.
Here.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Vogely.
Here, and I need a pen.
Vice President Toohey.
Excused.
President Stonecipher.
Here. Councilmember Schwab, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Councilmember Ryan, will you please read the land acknowledgement?
I'd be honored. The City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Shahobs people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes, who since time immemorial have hunted, fished, and gathered on these sacred lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty and their right to self-determination and honor their sacred spiritual connection with these lands and waters. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes, to bring forth a future that incorporates their stories, their people, and their voices to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. We'll move to the approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of July 26th?
So moved.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab.
Yes.
Councilmember Fossey.
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. And it's now time for public comment. Angie, do we have anyone signed up to speak this evening?
Yes, we do. We have, thank you. Virtual and in chambers, but first I'll read out the written comments that we received. The following are in regards to Waits Motel: Liam Fitzgerald, Jean Wool, Patrick Hall, Carrie Quass, Ryan Weber, Paula McCulloch, James Louisiana Hernandez, and James Harrigan wrote in about Providence, and all of these have been provided to council administration and to the clerk to be part of the record. So we will start with those on Zoom. Some of you I didn't hear from, whether you wanted to speak during public comment or regarding a particular item number. So I'll start with those that are not in relation to agenda items right now. One moment here. No. Okay. Jose, if we could have you unmute yourself, and if possible, turn on your camera, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. There'll be a timer on the screen for you to reference, and when you see that, you can start. And please state your full name and city of residence.
Yes, hello. My name is Jose Villas, and I live in Everett, Washington, District 2, in the Port Gardner neighborhood. I just wanted to follow up from my visit to the City Council a few months ago and also last year. I live right across from Andy's place and North Star Apartments, and the situation of safety keeps getting worse every month. I understand there's a lot of supportive housing around this area. I actually do support it. A lot of my neighbors do. But the problem that we're seeing is we just have a very large amount of homeless individuals that are living in their cars, also that are gathering throughout the day, not just in the street of 33rd Street, 34th Street, Lombard Avenue, that also includes the alleys of Lombard and also of Broadway. Just a lot of people gathering, leaving trash. Again, it's becoming a safety issue. I'm just requesting that all the elected officials, the mayor, the city council, the police department, you got elected to be on the council to bring solutions to also current problems. This is an issue that has been happening here. It's not getting any better. I'm just requesting more police and real solutions on how to deal with this. I understand that it's not easy to solve homelessness, but I also will tell you that there's a lot of homeless people who are not respecting the neighborhood here of where we live. So the constant trash, drug needles, people selling drugs, people also who live in their vehicles and don't respect the neighborhood. And I'm talking at all times during the day. It could be 10 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning, and you can always count on somebody being outside of my house out here. This entire neighborhood just kind of hanging out, not really caring for the neighborhood here. So again, with all due respect to the city council and the mayor, I'm just requesting that you come together and that you give us residents some tools to use so that we can feel safe in our neighborhood. I myself had just recently upgraded my security system for my house just because of the increase of safety for me. And again, I'm requesting more police and an emphasis on tools for our neighborhood. Please help our neighborhood feel safe again. It was not like this years ago. It just keeps getting worse every year. And I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Jose. One second here. Okay, Rosemary, would you like to unmute yourself and state your full name, city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak once you see the timer on. Are you able to unmute yourself? Let's see if I can.
I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, it's on, so just one moment. Okay, you can start speaking now.
Okay, my name is Rose. My name is Rosemary Elton Avenger.
Rosemary, can you hold for a moment? I think you have 2 speakers going on.
And it's hard to hear because something else is talking.
Okay, I think it's good now. Go ahead.
This place is quiet. The people that live here now have been here for years, including us. We've been here 5 years. We did everything we could, but when they closed up 7-Eleven, everybody left. I mean, there's just kind of us left. There's not even people out here in front on the street at night. It's just bare, empty. And we need... It's just... yeah, I'm used to be... Oh, I'm sorry. I need to be on oxygen. So I'm having a little trouble right now, and I apologize. But not just us, not just my caregiver Joe and myself and Carla. There's a lot of people living here that need this place, that love this place, even though some people think it's just garbage. It's not. People are good, they're clean, they're kind, and they're afraid. They don't know what can happen. I don't know much more to say than it hasn't been said over and over, but if we get thrown out, I don't know where these people are gonna go. I don't know where we're gonna go. I have to be close to the hospital. because I have a few health problems. I'm a wreck. I came over here today to let you know how the people here feel. I'm kind of speaking for us and everybody that lives here. Yeah, I told him I was on oxygen and I didn't.
Put you out on the street.
Yeah, also, well, like I said, I am on oxygen. And there's no way to hook up oxygen on the street. It's not the kind to carry around because that costs too much. And actually, everybody in here is on a fixed income. They couldn't afford to pay for anything else. And they're good people. Thank you for listening. And I want to thank the lady that was here from your group on Sunday. Her and another lady, they were great. Your little lady that works with you is just priceless. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Next, if James could unmute himself and turn your camera on, there you go. And you will, do you see the clock?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So please state your full name, city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you.
Sorry, you have 4 minutes to speak.
Yeah, I had requested an additional minute and was granted that, so I appreciate that very much. Yes, thank you for letting me speak with you. Just for the record, my name is James Harrigan. I live in Sultan, but I work in Everett at the hospital, Providence in Everett. Before I start, I just want to express that, you know, the issue regarding Waits Motel is really important. So I hope nothing I say takes away from feedback regarding that issue. But I think some other nurses may also join me in trying to open up a dialogue with you, the community, but also you as civic leaders regarding the state of healthcare, particularly at our hospital here at Providence and Everett. So to start, I just wanted to read a quick statement that I drafted about a year ago and submitted to our leadership at the hospital. And I think it'll give some context, and then I'll jump into my main point. So, veteran staff retention has been an ongoing issue for Providence since before the COVID-19 pandemic. Amid the rapid growth of Providence, such as the expansion into the medical towers, important values were not adequately prioritized and protected, such as a sense of community, communication, respect, and transparency. The transition into medical towers decentralized healthcare staff and disrupted close connections between staff of all kinds, including nurses. A reduced sense of community, along with poor communication within the organization regarding both a grand vision for the future as well as more day-to-day communication, further harmed a culture of community and significantly hindered staff retention. Many staff voiced concern about the trend of replacement of long-time staff with residents without making a significant effort to retain existing staff. The reduced sense of community was further harmed by staffing practices that float staff to unfamiliar areas to overutilize the float pool department. Nursing leadership also experienced losses with increasing direct report workloads and more meetings for managers and directors, leading to less time to spend with staff and thus reduced connections between managers and their staff. Inconsistent rounding by the executive leadership team, along with a growing discontent with working conditions, led to an estrangement between leadership and caregivers, which has continued to deepen. It is at this point that COVID-19 came on the scene to exacerbate the lack of community by way of isolation. So I read that to try to emphasize and dispel the myth that the conditions at Providence and Everett are because of the pandemic. They were made worse by the pandemic, but they were not caused by the pandemic. The more fundamental problem is this breakdown of community, communication, respect, and transparency. And those issues have not been adequately addressed in my perspective and in the perspective of many of the staff, including leadership at Providence. So that's the first point. The second thing is I want to focus on this idea of a breakdown of community because it gives insight into both what has happened and also what we can do to move forward. So An interesting fact to note is that during the pandemic, Providence said that they were transitioning due to financial constraint to a systems level decision-making approach, which is basically to say that any financial decision or any decision that has a financial implication would be made,
30
would be
seconds.
vetted by a group of small group of executives. And so this constrains our leadership and creates a poisonous environment for community. It's a bit like having a married couple trying to work out their relationship, but the breadwinner has to vet every decision through a divorce lawyer. And it creates this unhealthy environment for our staff. And the solution has to be for the community to come together around nursing, around the hospital, and open up a dialogue. So really quickly, the request that I have is that when we look at the comprehensive plan update and look at healthcare, please create multi-session, open forum, community forum. Everybody come to the table and talk about what's actually happening, and as a community, come together and honestly look at the situation and see it for what it is. That's the only way we can move forward. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, James. Shola, would you like to speak now or wait until item 8? Shola, are you there? I can't hear you. I'm gonna let our tech work with that and I'll be back with you. Carla? Are you there? Hi, Carla.
Yeah, I'm here.
Would you like to speak now or when we get to item 8?
Oh, I'll speak now. I don't have an issue with it.
Okay, 1 second.
Hold on, I'm gonna get to somewhere else so we don't get the echo because I'm in with Rosemary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you're ready, just state your full name, city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
All right, my name is Carla Smith. I am a resident of Everett, Washington. I've been a resident here at the Waits Motel for over 6.5 years. Boy, where do we go from here? I mean, people say it's not deemed as a residence, but this is my home. Oh, did my video go away?
No, you're on.
Okay. Emily's been here since March 1st, and she's cleaned this place up. She's done an excellent and awesome job. I can now sleep peacefully through the night, not be woke up. And honestly, since the 7-Eleven closed, all those people went away. And that were in the alleys and set up camp behind the motel last summer and stuff. They were more in partly because of the 7-Eleven. And I'm currently a resident here and I've been here so long, I have an eviction on my record. That's why I can't afford to go anywhere else. Because nobody will rent to me. And I'm concerned that, they condemn. Where are we all gonna go? Because majority of everybody that's used this as their residence are on a fixed income. So that's my big question is it comes down to contamination. Where are we gonna go? We're gonna go out on the street? But I'm gonna leave the rest of my time to someone else.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
Shola, would you like to speak now or wait till item 8?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to speak now if possible.
Okay, I think we have to turn down your mic a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I can do that right now. My apologies.
Okay,
Is that better?
yes, thank you.
Okay. Oh, hi, Everett City Council. So to start off, I've been hearing this word compassion a lot.
from y'all and many others in the region. And I have to ask if y'all are really just saying it because you mean it, or if you're saying it just because that's just a new buzzword. Because to me, so compassion is supposed to be about not just feeling for folks, but wanting to do meaningful action to address whatever's suffering or misfortune they're dealing with. And I feel like this matter when it comes to the Waits Motel is a really good opportunity to show whether or not you mean it when you say that you all are compassionate. Because I heard recently that only 2 of you actually visited the Waits Motel recently when it comes to this matter of like condemning it. And I remember with the last meeting, one of the ones who did visit, I'm not going to name names right now, outright said that if the Waits Motel gets condemned and everyone is forced to leave it, someone could die. I think it's one of the people, it's the person is here in this meeting. So if you're saying that y'all are compassionate, I would like to see y'all make a vote against or push down the idea of actually condemning this place and actually working with those who are currently turning things around, like Emily and such, to make this a better, safer area for those who are living there and folks around the area. And when it comes to the matter of homelessness in general, I have to say that, again, as an all-white council, in which all of y'all are homeowners, I feel like for y'all to just make these decisions by yourselves with little to no regard for those who your decisions are going to affect, what's the point of even having a land acknowledgement when you're making decisions yourself and you're not even prioritizing BIPOC or even white folks in poverty? This idea that, because I know many people who are indigenous, and this idea of people in the community looking out and supporting each other, that's something that much of my family from Nigeria actually prioritize as well, at least traditionally. This whole matter when it comes to addressing homelessness, focus on affordable housing, focus on meaningful evidence-based ways to actually help people, like normalizing the use of Narcan, safe consumption sites, and actually hearing on what safety means for those who are in house as well. Not just for those who are housed, but those who are in house as well, because their lives matter too. If all lives matter, which many people have told me that Black Lives Matter is too divisive, if all lives matter, show through your examples, including poor white folks as well. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Shola.
Mm-hmm.
Gail Gabbard, just to confirm, are you online or here?
I'm here.
Okay. Would you like to speak now or when we get to agenda item 8?
The agenda, I guess.
Wait till we get to the agenda? Okay, so it'll be a little bit.
Oh, so it'll be when you get to the Waits Motel?
Yes.
Okay. So turn off my mic.
Yes, if you're not going to speak now, I'll ask you to mute.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we'll move to a few here that are in chambers. If Kate could please come to the podium.
Is this the agenda for the Waits?
It looks like you put for general public comment, but if you want to wait till we get to that agenda, we can do that. Okay, no problem.
Thanks.
Bill, if you could come to the podium. Please state your full name, city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, my name is Bill McKinlock, and I'm a homeowner here in Everett. I don't feel good tonight. I don't even want to be here, but it's kind of important stuff, at least to me anyway, so that's why I'm here. I'm kind of disappointed, and I don't, maybe like some of you guys, I don't have a lot of faith in our government anymore. And so I spoke last week, and I got home, and I went to, I want to show my roommate, hey, I spoke at the meeting, and I think I did well, and here, let's find it in the video. And it wasn't there. It was not there. I thought that was a law. These guys, nothing was cut out of the video. And there were a couple other people that were cut out of it too. And it was, I don't know what the heck's going on, but I used to be a reporter, so I love that job because I got paid to know what was going on. So if I want to know what's going on, talk to a reporter. So I did, and they're probably watching tonight. And he says, it's not the first time that's happened at the council meetings. And that makes me sad, I don't know. We the people, you guys know what that's from, right? First line in the Constitution of the United States. And I think we've lost that somewhere along the lines where I think a lot of politicians think they have the freedom to color outside the lines. That hurts, man. So I live in the city of Everett. I love it. I really do. And I got so lucky. I looked for a house for the longest time. And I found this beautiful street. I'm not giving the address out because there's weirdos out there. But I live on Baker. And we got those huge trees lining both sides of the road. And every time I get home, I drive down there. And I think, damn. And I got a sense of community living there. Because, that's a street that people go to walk their dogs or jog at lunch and all that stuff. And I love sitting on my porch and feeling that sense of community we have. And it's not just my neighborhood. If you want to have a good community, we need to have a sense of community. We all belong. So the Waits Motel. I said a lot of stuff last week, but I got to say, I am. The way it was before, there was no sense of community. It was dopers and crazy shit going on, and it was just not a good place to be. So I think if I lived next door to that place, I would have firebombed it. I don't know. But it's not like that anymore. And I noticed I went to this thing there at the Waits where they let the community come in and just kind of look around and listen and stuff. One of the neighbors was there. And she lived there a long time. Oh, in the past, she did not like the Waits. She was like me, blow it up. No, she lives across the street. She sees what goes in day out there. It's not like it used to be. It is not a nuisance to the city anymore. It's not.
Bill, I'll need you to wrap up.
Oh, poop!
No,
Okay,
sorry.
I will respect that. I respect that. Even though I'm trying to talk about two different things. Please, table this for at least 6 months, see what's going on.
Thank you, Bill. Willie, if you could please come to the podium. And please state your full name, city of residence, and 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Willie Russell. I live just outside the city of Everett, out by Mariner. I ain't been here in 4.5 years, and you want to know something? I'm glad. This is a sick community, okay? Now, I've got something I'm going to read, but I've got a couple of quick comments I want to make here. I don't know the lady at the Lates Motel. I just met her tonight. But you want to know something? I've been asked by 550 homeless people to come here. I'm here. We're going to fight. We're going to do what we have to make you people understand some things. We, the people, rule. You just make decisions on how we get to live. Well, today we're here to tell you that we want to live by a person who's cleaning up the community. This lady has worked her butt off. And actually, I can't read what I say because it's too nice to you. Okay? I sat here and I watched a lady. I came to tears watching a lady doesn't know what's going to happen to her. She doesn't know if she's going to not be able to breathe tomorrow. Now, I can tell you this about your mayor. 7 years ago, I sat in a church and listened to her talk about spirit of community and what she was going to do. Well, guess what? I see it. I see the hate in our community. I see people making up bullshit to get people arrested. I've been the victim of that. The word bitch is illegal while prick is impolite. Yes, David Hall made that ruling. Folks, you people need to pay attention to the people because the people are coming. We are tired. Ma'am, you have the support of over 500 people right now that don't even know you. And just so you know, 164 of them is from the Cascade Precinct, the 21st Legislative District, which I've been elected to the past 3 terms. Did you know in the past 3 terms we haven't had one crime in a 28-block area? Do you know why? We are community involved. We talk to each other. We share. That's what she's doing. She's cleaning up her neighborhood. That's what we did. But we didn't run people away. We didn't turn them away. What did we do? We gave them love. We showed them an opportunity. We took them. And in the meantime, you guys supported Robert Smiley and the Hand Up Project, who stole $3.8 million and had to give up the Hand Up Project. And now you're working with the same people under a different name, Courage to Change here in Everett. Christina Anderson and Mike Kersey worked with him when he was defrauding this community, and you've given him millions of dollars in the past. And now you're doing it with CTC. Stop this nonsense. So here's what we're going to do. The lady there, she's got our support. Now, I'm asking
Mr.
you to do
Russell,
one thing.
please wrap up.
Okay.
Time's
My
up.
request for the council, I'm asking for an independent investigation by the Attorney General of this state to make sure that the mayor has been honest in this deal. And I can say that because I know the mayor lies. She lied to her husband. Thank you.
President Stonecipher, that's it for open public comment. The remaining are for item number 8.
Okay. Thank you, Angie. Yes? If you'd like to speak, Mr. Harris, please come forward.
Good evening, Madam President, Council. I am Victor Harris, resident of beautiful downtown Everett. It is with a heavy heart that I come before you tonight to announce that my previous guide dog, leader dog Ollie, was put down Monday afternoon. He was in Detroit, Michigan with his puppy raiser. She was 14 at the time. She is now a detective with the Detroit Police Department. I'm very proud of her. Ollie had many friends, some of you up here, many on the streets of downtown Everett. We'd always be walking around, and especially certain young ladies who would like to put beads on him at certain parties. It was a real joy, and he will be missed. And to that, I would like to say thank you to all the drivers in our community. There are a number of guide dogs working hard to keep their owners safe. And your extra time and your extra courtesy in allowing us to navigate safely is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor.
I apologize. She didn't let me know. But I would like to speak on her behalf.
We will get you when we get to that item on the agenda. Angie, do you have those speaker sheets? Okay, we will move on to council comments and liaison reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Ryan.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the public commenters this evening. I know that there are a number of folks waiting for another item later, so just want to thank you in advance for taking the time to be here tonight and to share what's on your hearts. I really appreciate it. And please know that we do listen. To Mr. Valal's that had spoken earlier, I did receive your email late this afternoon, and I'll be following up with you and with administration to think a little bit more about ways that we can help your street. And also I have a meeting with Compass in a few weeks. I'll be sure to bring that up as well. Let's see. For my report this evening, I wanted to share that I attended a number of National Night Out events last night, and it was great way to just see community and meet with neighborhoods and neighbors and My kiddos weren't able to make it, so nobody got their face painted, but including myself. But just really appreciate all the effort that a lot of people put into these events, and I know it's a very large undertaking for volunteers nonetheless, so many thanks to all the hands that put it on. Earlier this evening, our Health and Human Services Committee met at 5 o'clock, and our guest speaker was John Koch with the Community Medical Services Group, and he shared more about the opioid treatment facility that's going to be going in on Evergreen, and I believe 51st, thank you, where the old pastrami shop was. And so their Community Medical Services is a really amazing organization with a proven track record of across a number of states in the nation. So folks are curious about the facility and the site plan and the services that they provide. I would encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and pull up the Health and Human Services Committee meeting to hear more about the project going in. And he also shared his email and website, and he's more than happy to come to neighborhood events and share more about the project and about the program and the services that they provide. And speaking of the video for the public commenter from earlier this evening, there was a glitch that had happened during the meeting last week, and so not all of the meeting got uploaded, but it was corrected pretty quickly. So I think you might have caught an earlier uploaded version that didn't capture all of the data. So a new version has been uploaded that does include all of the public comments. So it is online for a record now. So just wanted to mention that. And other than that, that's all I have this evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Schwab.
Yeah, there's plenty of night for everyone else to speak, so I'll just pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fosse.
Councilmember Ryan covered a few of the things I was going to say, so I will just move on to saying thank you also to people who are providing the public comment. I did want to say thank you to the Delta Neighborhood Association for this last weekend. They had their Shakespeare in the Park event, and that was very well attended, and the community really came out for that, and it was really enjoyable. And it's our third annual one, and it's still a big success in the community. I did get to attend 3 different neighborhood national nights outs, and went to Delta over at Jackson, and that was great. There was a lot of really amazing vendors there, and I think I'm going to sign my daughter up for soccer now, because I guess the age limit for the Boys and Girls Club sports is like 3, and so my son didn't really take to it, but my daughter might. And then I went over to Garfield Park to go to Riverside's, and they had like burgers and food, and it was amazing, and tons of like kids activities. So that was really great. And then over at Clark Park, and they were even registering people to vote for Bayside's neighborhood association's national night out. So it was just a lot of love and community, and people volunteering their time, and that's always nice to see. Then this morning, I went over on a jail tour to look at our services that we have there, and learned how our jail in particular is a little bit different. And I understand that they're coming to present on the 23rd to council. And thank you to President Stonecipher for getting that set up. I think that that's going to be really informative for a lot of the community to see the background of what we're doing, because that was a very educational experience going through there and seeing things. As most of my experience has been more of the penitentiary level. So a couple of events that are coming up that I think people should know about. On Saturday, the Sounds of Africa Festival will be at the Everett Community College. And then Saturday, September 16th, from 1 to 5 at Jackson Park is the 4th annual Delta Art Experience. And if you haven't yet attended one of those, it's fun with vendors and mural painting and food trucks, things like that. So I encourage you to go. That's Saturday, September 16th.
Thank you. Councilmember Zarlingo.
Well, I do want to thank our public commenters here. We listen, we endeavor to do the best we can that way, so I hope that message gets out there. And without repeating too much from previous reports, I actually was set to attend 3 of the National Night Out events last night, though one of them on West Casino Road unfortunately had to be canceled because of a staffing problem, which is too common these days. But I went a couple of times each to a couple of other gatherings. And I certainly appreciate the Pinehurst Beverly Park neighborhood organization. They're really consistently active and well organized, and they also work out of a real gem of a park, Lions Park, right next to the Boys and Girls Clubs there. unfortunately, some of that area has been under some pressure from crime and graffiti and shootings and things, so they're doing all they can that way, and I really respect that. But in some ways, I was more struck by the other gathering I went to. It's a large condominium and townhouse complex where I used to live some years ago. And when I first stopped by, it was a couple of residents early on in the session, and that are pulling that together on a small scale, a pretty modest effort. But when I went back later and talked to a bunch of people, I realized that as distinct maybe from the Pinehurst Beverly Park gathering, these were people who really hadn't known each other until last night. This did a lot of what National Night Out is supposed to do and get people out of their normal routines and getting to know each other. It was a wonderful thing to see. And another thing that was neat to see was the difference in ages there. Most of that complex is a kind of thing we can't build much these days because we don't have the condominiums being built much. So it was 2 stories on top, 1 story below. That often means younger people or more able people on the upper floors in these 2-story apartments. Then below that is sharing the same building are single-story things, and that often is the elderly and the disabled. And that contributes to what I saw last night, a mix of real ages and abilities, and that makes for a richer kind of thing. I hope there are things that we can do directly and indirectly, and maybe in some cases with the ADUs, to provide more of that kind of housing and more of that kind of owned housing for the people who want that. So I'm encouraged by that. I was encouraged by the activity and bringing people together. And then lastly, this morning I attended the groundbreaking for the Millwright Loop Phase 2 for the Port of Everett, a cooperative effort by a developer, by the county treasurer, whose department is working to help them get funding for the developments there, because these are many, many millions of dollars, and then of course the port and support from the city. And that's helping us make the most of a unique asset, which is really important to us in terms of tax-based prosperity in this city. And then something I was struck by, and just a few days ago I was looking at an old picture of the waterfront, seeing it was all basically commercial industrial. What's different now is that in addition to all of that, we have tourism, shopping, and for the first time, I think, ever on that waterfront, we have residences there. So for people who want to live on the waterfront and near all of that and all the benefits of that, we have that here. It's not something very commonly available in Puget Sound. So again, happy to see that, more going on that way, attracting large amounts of investment, which are going to help create a richer base for all of the rest of us here in Everett. So happy to see that, and I congratulate the people working together to make that happen.
Thank you, Councilmember Vogely.
Welcome to Everett City Council tonight. I'll be nice first. So I got to go to Harborview, Seahurst, Glenhaven party last night. There was live music. We got there a little late. I went with my daughter. It was she who decided whether or not we would go to more than one, and she was rather enjoying herself, so we stayed. And I think I already said live music, ice cream. It was a little melty, but yeah, still delicious. So that was fun. And the thing that I learned that sounds like might be inconsistent amongst the neighborhoods is the different types of permitting. So I was surprised at the different types of permitting that has changed, and more are necessary for these events, even though it's National Night Out. So I'm just putting that out there. I don't know where to go with it yet, but I think there's something there. And it was fun. So thank you. And I didn't get to go to my own neighborhood because we didn't have one. So that was sad, but still a good time. James Harrigan, who called earlier, I haven't heard you be mentioned yet, and I certainly like the idea of an open session forum and people talking together, because really that's how we work things out. And I like that you brought it up for the comprehensive plan. And I would like to remind everybody in our community that we have, as a council, brought forward tools to fight the housing crisis and the shelter crisis, and some of them are like the Hope Church, Norton Playfield having social services downtown. This new one, I was very excited to watch the meeting from, at 5 o'clock. So that's another tool that we're going to have. So I encourage you that if you feel like it's just going to bring more people in, maybe it's time to get them off the street and into services, at least for part of the day. I think during COVID, we took away most of the trash cans. So I would encourage us to figure out how to give back trash cans for the people in the city to use instead of sending Public Works out for, I don't know how much money, I'd have to look it up. I didn't write it down earlier, once a week. Have just regular pickup because that is needed. And I think that we will have many more opportunities, but we need your help. It is just us up here saying, hey, let's put this cool new tool in. Nah, not there. No. What we need you to do is say yes, and that will be great because people are going to get helped and housed in one way, shape, form, or another. And I also was at the tour of the Snohomish County Jail this morning. Wow. Apparently, if you want to take a tour, you can. And you don't have to be an elected official. You can go and see the work that they're doing. And I tell you, I took a tour 6 years ago, I think, maybe 7. A lot has changed. And, there was the COVID, get everything all buckled down. But opening back up, a lot has changed, and I will just leave it at that. And it's a good change. And I am not one to support lots of jailing and incarceration. So coming from me, that's a big kudos. And rest in peace, Ollie. Wonderful dog. And that was my daughter that put the beads on Ollie. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't have much to add to all those great comments. Thank you very much. I will ask, do we have an administrative update this evening?
I just have 2 items. Some council members asked last week about the status of the mayor's project labor agreements task force. And of course, we appreciate Council Vice President Tui, he's not here, and Councilmember Schwab for their participation on the task force. There have been 5 very productive meetings since its creation. And at the last task force meeting, they discussed that a document would be produced that could summarize the work of the task force. So some consultants were used to help put that together. The city got that information a little late last week, and they're going to be reviewing that with the task force members at their meeting tomorrow. And then, so a few weeks after the task force finishes their work, which could be tomorrow, but might be after, one more meeting following tomorrow's meeting, hopefully very soon, staff will bring that information back to the city council. And we look forward to wrapping up that work soon. My other item, last week we heard from, I guess I have maybe one more after that, really quick one, but last week we heard from Downtown Dennis regarding some public safety concerns, and as you guys probably saw, although I didn't because I'm always just looking at you, but you probably saw during council that our PD staff followed up with him right away, and they are also working with the QFC, the school, and they'll continue to do so. And then my last piece was just thank you, Councilmember Ryan, for pointing out that we did have that little glitch with our YouTube connection with the meeting stream last night, but it's been resolved. The full meeting's there. And of course, the official record is always on the Agenda Center as well on the city website. So thanks.
Thank you. And now I'll move to our city attorney. Do you have anything for us this evening, Mr. Hall?
There's no report from the legal department tonight. We are requesting a 15-minute executive session to discuss a legal matter pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1I with council action to follow, and we're also requesting that executive session occur following the public hearing on item 8 and prior to the council's vote on that item.
Thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the 5 consent items?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse?
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely?
Yes.
President Stonecipher?
Yes. Next, our proposed action item is a second reading. It's already been read into the record. Item 6. Are there any questions on item 6? Thank you. We'll move on to our action agenda. Item 7, adopt a resolution concurring with staff recommendation and authorizing the mayor to implement the next steps for COVID recovery funded projects and initiatives listed in the resolution, recital D. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Councilmember Ryan and then Councilmember Vogely.
Great, thanks. No questions, just a couple comments that I'm really glad to support these items and these and the work that these groups are doing to better our community, especially in the wake of COVID. And I've been saying it for a little over a year now that there is no equitable recovery from COVID without a substantial commitment to increasing our child care and affordable child care in the community. So big props to Tomorrow's Hope and the great work that you're doing, and then also to Compass Health for your commitment to behavioral health services in the community. And with the Early Learning Center, we've been working on that and supporting their hard work for quite some time now. So glad to see that they're still focused on workforce pathways for people to get into the childcare sector. And then I'm also hopeful that with the EVCC's new administration and with their new president, that that'll remain a priority for the college. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Vogely.
What she said, because I went back and I watched it because I missed that piece at the meeting last week. So just didn't make a lot of comments then, and I won't now. Just thank you for all the work for that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse?
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely?
Yes.
President Stonecipher?
Yes. Next, we have a public hearing and action item, which I'll read, and then I'll open the public hearing. Item 8, Council Bill 2307-37, third and final reading. Adopt ordinance providing for the acquisition by eminent domain of the property located at 1301 Lombard Avenue, Everett, Washington, commonly known as the Waits Motel, for the purpose of eliminating neighborhood blight. I'll now open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this item?
Yes, we just have one individual online, so we'll start with Gail. If you can unmute yourself, turn your camera on.
I'm unmuted and,
Oh, just 1 second, let me get my timer going, 1 moment.
okay, I'm trying to turn my camera on, I thought it was on.
Yep, I see you now. Okay, do you see the clock?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
let's see, I'm trying to get this to where, oops. Hold on. Okay, so my name is Gail Gabbard, and I'm trying to get this okay. I used to live at the Waits Motel years ago. It was pretty bad then. And I used to work at 7-Eleven right in front of the Waits Motel not even a year and a half ago. And I knew the managers that were there before Emily was there. And it was pretty bad there. I also feed with Cindy Paul, Colors of Hawaii, and out of the Valley Church. We always go to the Waits Motel. Once they did the manager's changeover and Emily took over, before I even knew her, she had heard about us coming to feed, always came out there to put the cones out for safety precaution. And then I heard, that she was trying to clean it up. So I was around, and I'm still around, as it was getting cleaned up. I've given a lot of donations there for people that were staying there. She's doing a really good job. My husband is from Everett, Washington here, and I know Everett pretty well, and she's doing really good, and it's not going to be the Waits Motel once she's able to have it. It's going to be Rain Haven. Now, with the name Rain Haven and stuff, they have nothing on them. They have nothing on Emily as far as all the bad stuff going on. And anything that goes on outside of Rainhaven is what I'm gonna call it now is the police's problem and the city's problem. She can't control what goes on outside of Rainhaven. And so I just, you guys need to give her a chance. I have, let me see if I can go back to it, see if you guys can see this real quick. Where'd it go? From pictures that were taken, I just took them. Just us there, and well, here's one right there. Emily, as the motel is clean, there was a barbecue last Sunday, or the Sunday before last, and it turned out pretty good there. And these are just a few pictures from there. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that well. And we just want her to be given a chance. She's got a lot of people backing her. She's got Out of the Valley Church backing her. I'm backing her. And a lot of good people are backing her. I understand where kids are afraid to walk and stuff because of things they've seen going on that street. But that's been going on for years. And
Gail,
so,
I need you to wrap up, sorry.
okay, so I'm just saying, just please give her a chance to launch this off and help the community as she's doing, because Waste Motel is non-existent. It's going to be Rain Haven. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go over to people in chambers. We'll start with Stephanie, followed by Roman. And if you could please state your full name, city of residence, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Larson. I live in Snohomish, but my family home is at 1306 Lombard. When we bought in 1981, we had many dreams as new homeowners. I was fortunate to be hired by the Everett School District and spent my career at Whittier Elementary. I imagine my North Everett neighbors also had dreams for their homes and their lives. However, never in my wildest dreams did I think that by living across from 1301 Lombard, I'd be explaining to my then 10-year-old what oral sex was, an act he witnessed at Waits from our front window, or that the two women with needles in their arms were not likely diabetic. I'd like to think that if you had asked the many owners of Waits, they had plans and dreams as well. I'm pretty sure they would have told tales of what an asset they were going to be to the neighborhood. Time and time again, it has proved to be false. How is this time any different? I was at my Lombard home on Sunday, cleaning and tidying inside. Bob, Jean, Nancy, Sean, we were all home, doing what folks do, mowing, picking up trash, painting. No one, no city council member or stranger came by to tell us what a good job we were doing cleaning up our homes. No one started a GoFundMe account to pay for my Windex. The minimal work at Waits only began when it was under the microscope of the Everett Police, Code Enforcement, Everett Fire, Snohomish Health District. The owners, past and present, have towed the line for a bit, then it reverts right back to Camp Squalor. The current owner ignored working fire detectors for goodness sake, with a woman on oxygen living there for 10 years. If there had been a fire, it would have been demolished. We would have gotten what we wanted. The place is not apartments. It is not a hotel. It is licensed for short-term lodging. The city has dropped the ball in not enforcing that. 10 years she's lived there? Not acceptable. Not acceptable. She will have a home. We will find the people affected a home. How many opportunities will this eyesore, however, get, and why? The decision to condemn is applauded by the majority of Everett, who have watched and suffered right along with the immediate neighbors for 30-plus years. The 236 calls to 911 in a 12-month recent period. How many 911 calls has there been in the 32 years I've owned 1306?
Stephanie, I'll need you to wrap up.
Public safety and fiscal responsibility of my tax dollars, please. Condemn and demolish Waits. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, if Roman could please come to the podium, followed by Lisa?
Luisana.
Sorry. And please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, esteemed members of the City Council, fellow residents of Everett. My name is Roman Nekrasov. I am 18 years old and I reside in Renton, but work as a salesman for CAPN Security Services, a security patrolling company that operates in Everett. My role as a salesperson for CAPN Security Services has provided me with a unique perspective, as I've had the privilege to engage with hundreds of business owners all throughout Northwest Everett. All of them are hardworking individuals, the foundation of the Everett economy, unfortunately sharing the one same struggle. Trespassing, vandalism, crime, and theft have become so normal here that many have lost hope that Everett can ever become safe. Upon the start of my tenure at CAPN, I had the privilege of meeting Emily and Doug, whose dedication and unwavering commitment to positive change left a mark on my heart. As a member of the so-called Generation Z, in this day and age, it is very rare that we get to hear stories when people commit to combating challenges in the community, driven solely by genuine generosity rather than financial gain. Hearing about Emily's journey as a manager of Waits Motel struck me as a story of what can be achieved when hard work, determination, and a genuine love for one's community converge. Emily and Doug's work at the Waits Motel has set an example for me of what a business that actually helps people looks like. When Emily and her partner Doug assumed management of Waits Motel, they inherited a property that had been infested with criminal activity and despair. What they saw, however, was not just a building, but a canvas upon which they could paint a new narrative, a narrative of hope, support, and renewal. We use the motel as the office for CAPN Security Services, and I'm there for almost every day. And I can confidently say that through their tireless efforts and sleepless nights, they transformed the once troubled establishment into a cozy motel with friendly people. Come and see it for yourself. It is important for us to acknowledge that the Waits Motel transformation is not an isolated incident. It is a shining example of the potential that resides within all corners of our city. We have a responsibility to uplift and support those like Emily who dedicate themselves to fostering safer and more prosperous communities. The decision to label Waits Motel as a blight and tear down the progress that has been achieved sends a disheartening message, one that undermines the very essence of community collaboration and stifles the spirit of positive change. In conclusion, I urge you, esteemed members of the City Council, to not rush to judgment based on the past, but look into the future with hope and table the decision to label Waits Motel as a blight. For within its walls lies a beacon of hope and inspiration, personified by the incredible efforts of Emily and Doug. As I grow older and one day become a business owner myself, Emily and Doug are the people I'd like to look up to. Let us stand together in solidarity with small business owners who strive to make a difference and collectively pave the way for a brighter and safer future for the future generations of citizens of Everett. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next, sorry if I in advance mispronounce this, but Lasiva?
Good job.
Oh, thank you. So please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, I'm Lisa Lavsiva, and I live in Everett. In fact, I live at 1310 Lombard Avenue, which is right across the street from the Waits Motel. And so if anybody can talk about what the experience of living across from the Waits Motel is, I can. Over the last 11 years that I've been there, I've seen it go through numerous managers and owners, and the one thing that has changed are the owners and the managers, but not the clientele. And we've seen just example after example of crime waves there, drug abuse. I've had drugs being sold right across from my house. There was a large fire there from fireworks being set off. There's been a lot of not great stuff that's gone on there. And until about 5 months ago. And then I started noticing that things were really calming down. I didn't know why. I had no idea that it had gone under new management at that time. And I was told by somebody that it had. And I started really paying attention to what was going on over there. And I noticed that there were no police presence, which was almost a constant at the Waits Motel. There was no screaming and yelling and loud music coming out of there anymore. There were no drug deals going on across the road from me, or people jumping over the fence to do drug deals from the Waits Motel. There were no bottles being smashed on my sidewalk coming over from the Waits Motel that went up on my grass. There was nothing. It was quiet and peaceful. And so I decided to go over and meet with the new managers and see who they were and what was going on over there. And I was just shocked. I never thought I would speak on behalf of the Waits Motel, but I am here to support the Waits Motel continuing on, but under the new management that it's on. And Emily and Doug have worked their tails off in clearing that place up. I've never seen it look so good. And in the 11 years that I've been here, I've never seen any change over there. There's been radical change over there. We don't have the police there anymore. We don't have the drug abuse. They've cleaned up the property. And the only thing that I've seen now is that they have 4 rooms that were condemned due to drug making, drug use, that kind of thing. And they've been completely cleaned. They've been renovated. They're ready to go. But they have notices on the door that say that they've been condemned for these reasons. And for some reason, those signs have not been taken off the doors. Even though all the paperwork has been filed, everything has been done that needed to be done to those rooms. They've got a sign off from the health department. And this is what's causing the blight that these 4 rooms supposedly cause. But they're not there anymore. They are perfectly reasonable places to live at this point.
I'll need you to wrap up.
So thank you. And I would like to support Emily and Doug in their efforts to bring a place that we can all be proud of in Everett. And I really think they can do that with the Waits Motel if just given some time. And I hope that you'll give them at least a year to be able to turn this place around as they are already doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, if Ruben could please come to the podium, followed by Britt. And please state your full name, city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Ruben Trujillo. I live in Everett, Washington in the Northwest District. I'm also the recipient of the Mayor's Art Award, Artist in the Community. And when I'm not spending my time beautifying the city with my art, I am actively involved in mutual aid. I help facilitate a group called Punks in the Park, and we are the ones who hosted the Grill and Chill at the Waits Motel. And I appreciate all those that took the time to come down and hang out with us and listen to the testimonies of those neighbors and those who are living there. I have lived in Everett for a while, and I have seen the changes. Since the ordinance around Smith Avenue, we have seen an increase in our homeless in our downtown areas and in our residential areas. And since the continued ordinance, it only continues to push these folks around into our neighborhoods and closer to our homes and in our backyards and on our streets. I am here to oppose the condemnment of the Waits Motel, and I will just cede the rest of my time for those who need it. Thank you.
Thank you. If Britt could come to the podium, followed by Jeremy. And please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Britt Stromberg, and I am a resident of Everett. I live at 1333 Lombard. I have lived there for 20 years. I'm at the opposite end of the block from the Waits Motel. And many of my dedicated neighbors have come before and spoke to you about the concerns that I share. I want to just point out the packet that came with this, the filing for this resolution. I want to acknowledge the work of Mayor Franklin to put together an executive determination and put her signature behind this. And I want to acknowledge the excellent work that the police department has done to provide facts. These are facts. There's a lot of drama happening here. The people that have lived here for 20 years and who have been living through this are obviously very emotional about this. We want to see change, but there are facts. I would urge you to please consider the facts in this document, the calls that have been made, all of the illegal activity. It doesn't matter who owns the place. The current drama around this is started by a manager. She does not own the property. The owner of that property could decide to change her at any given time. And then what will happen? It will probably go back to what it has been for the last 20 years that I have lived here. So please consider the facts. Take this moment and please vote to approve this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy, please come to the podium, followed by Kate, and state your full name, city of residence, 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Kohlenberg. I'm a resident of Seattle, but my business, Cabin Security Services, operates in Everett. I first came in contact with the Waits back in January of this year when the current owner, Medhat Saeed, reached out to me and asked for my patrol services. I did an assessment, I spent the night there, and I flatly refused him because I saw what absolutely would describe a blight. I saw traffic in the early hours of the morning. I smelled chemicals that are consistent with methamphetamine and fentanyl. And it was just not a safe place. It was not a place that we could adequately provide security for. If that was still the case, I wouldn't be speaking today, but it's not. I swing by there in the early hours of the morning and it's quiet. You have a mix of long-term residents who are not involved in illicit activity, and then people just staying there with legitimate jobs, working at Boeing or for the local hospital. And so right now, all this motion is doing is it's preventing Emily from owning the place because she has it under contract right now, and she has investors who are ready to ultimately fund this deal. The problem is they're now all on the fence because who wants to invest in a building that's condemned? So all I'm asking is you table this motion for 6 months, give Emily and her investors a chance to buy the building, and ultimately if it doesn't change, then you can change your mind and go back and move forward with the original motion. Thank you.
Kate, if you could please come to the podium, followed by Louisiana. And please state your full name and city of residence.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kate McFarland, and I live in Everett, right across from the Bates. This is actually the fourth rendition of what I was going to say tonight, so it might be kind of disjointed. Yesterday afternoon, I started out with some questions I had about the safety nets that the city has in place for whatever someone is planning for this site. And last night, I added a story about two elderly, very ill-looking, meth-smoking couples that were sitting right against my back fence. I called the police 2 times because the woman had her pants almost off and she had sores all over her back. She looked like she needed to go to the hospital. 1 hour and 15 minutes later, from no response from the police, I pushed open my gate and asked her to leave. Her friend was gone, and she said it would take a while as she was not feeling well. Okay. This morning, I started asking questions about all the weird coincidences that have been going on, and I'll talk later on more of that if I have time. Because while I was in my living room this afternoon, I heard someone talking about having a party tonight next door. And it's a pretty in-your-face, if you ask me, and I felt quite bullied by this. The weird coincidences that I mentioned earlier are about the city moving so fast to interfere with private business transaction, and yet so slow to get the hazmat cleaned rooms uncondemned and erase the last of the blight. The fire department and the police department have already done that. I also have to mention that most of you have not come to see the blight. And the same lot of you seem to be only listening to the less needy of the voices here. I know I'm privileged. I don't have to want for much. I was also raised to be compassionate, rational, questioning, giving, and responsible to the earth. Both my parents were professionals, and they were also hippies. So I get to live in both worlds that make me see things different, clearer at times. I also physically live in both worlds, as I have experienced the blight in the past, and now I find solace there. You see, last night, I went over to Emily and Doug's to get away from the mess smoke in my backyard. And 20 minutes later, the lady came by looking for a room, and Emily politely said she didn't have any and pointed her towards Broadway. Where's her safety net? Or the people who reside at the motel? Any plans for them yet? No one's come to check on them. You have no plans for them. So it comes down to safety net. There just isn't one. Thank you.
Thank you. Louisiana? I'm sorry,
My name is Luisana Hernandez.
Louisiana, okay.
I'm a
Thank you.
citizen here in Everett. I am a property owner in the Northwest District. A unanimous decision was made to displace a culturally diverse community. Among them, a small child, disabled elders, and people of color. Prior to publicly shaming and branding their home a blight, you failed to secure them alternative housing. It seems you need frequent reminding that housing is a human right, not an afterthought. You also failed to engage, inform, or solicit feedback from those directly impacted. They learned about the blight on TV. In stark contrast, the police chief attended a Northwest neighborhood meeting back in January where affluent residents discussed the waits, learned about the city's ability to seize and raise nuisance properties, and were advised to send complaints to City Council. Out with the nuisance list. We deserve to know how many disadvantaged communities you intend to disrupt and displace in your pursuit of a clean Everett. White property owners stack this council while minorities without political representation live in reprehensible conditions. We deserve transparency regarding the deliberate decisions made by city officials to exacerbate the suffering prevalent in our communities. Judy Toohey, our chair to homelessness and housing, which includes supportive housing, homeless response, and supportive services, proposed an amendment to prohibit the addition of new supportive services in Metro Everett plans. She voted down a buffer zone amendment that would have secured an operational day shelter, and she voted down affordable housing for 1,300 homeless students enrolled in Everett School District. While she directly contributes to the number of at-risk youth in our city, her nonprofit provides at-risk youth with evidence-based art-related services. Nonprofits that monopolize funding and contracts while exploiting and extorting those in need are the true blight, along with investors who buy up properties they refuse to maintain. Renters renovate properties they have no equity in, thereby limiting their ability to build lasting wealth. When slums, motels, and pallet shelters become synonymous with affordable housing, millionaire slumlords get to believe they're doing us a favor. Millions are spent to warehouse the homeless instead of addressing the need for permanent housing. Instead, you prioritize control over resources as you attempt to mitigate the hemorrhaging of homeless people into commercial properties. Buffer zones perpetuate cyclical displacement, while motels designated for homeless addicts and those with criminal histories are your scapegoat for neglect. By clustering desperate people into temporary housing with limited access to resources, you create the conditions for criminality. Meanwhile, Providence Hospital discharges mentally ill homeless patients to residential streets. EPD can confirm this. I called them for an agitated and delusional patient on my property. Responding officers refused to call a social worker and instead offered this man a ride to Marysville. While Cassie publicly shames, I'm almost done. While Cassie publicly shames Washington State Department of Transportation for transporting homeless people across county lines, her officers transport them across city lines, which begs the question of how many missing homeless people EPD is ultimately responsible for. Lastly, we should not be forced to suffer governments that refuse to adequately fund social services while they attempt time and again to trample our civil and human rights. Since humanity is not a driving force of the majority, I leave you with this last thought. Litigation is costly, and you have a history of losing.
Next, we have Holly. If you could please come to the podium, followed by Jenny. And please state your full name, city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
I won't take that long. Holly James, I'm the chair of the Northwest neighborhood currently and ran the meeting that was just mentioned, and that was not true. We encouraged communication as per usual. I'd like to thank you for the mayor and the police for all the work they've done. I am annoyed and discouraged that we're being excused from the room for owning a house, and this blight is real. It's documented with all those 911 calls, and those just came from the apartments, remember. This is not a homelessness issue. This is a safety. This is the city council made the variance a long time ago. I felt like that was a mistake, and it's time to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny, if you could please come to the podium, followed by Sean. And state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I live in Everett, Washington. I am here on behalf of the neighbors on the 1200 block of Lombard Avenue. You've heard from many of our neighbors on the 1300 block, and I have dozens of neighbors from the 1200 up to the schools asking me to tell you that we are in strong agreement with the majority of the 1300 block that we need the waits gone. We have had too long dealing with the issues at the waits. Did you know there are 6, the first half dozen homes closest to the waits, the neighbors to the north? 4 of them have pandemic baby households. I am one of them. We were home when the shootings were happening with scream-crying babies. Any of you that are parents know the difference between crying and scream-crying babies. We are done. We have scraped up enough human excrement to last a lifetime. We patrol our yards to get rid of needles and foil and bent spoons. As of last week, the morning after the city council meeting, 2 people, broad daylight, folks lining up at the food bank, shooting up right there. 2 adults coming up from the Waits Alley. Prior to that, my neighbor came home middle of the day with her oldest, someone up against her garage, shooting up because there was no shade at the triangle in front of the Waits. Prior to that, 2 people in the Waits Alley under blankets for hours during activities. I can go on and on, but I won't. I will just ask what the plan is now that we have been told recently, I don't know how many of you have heard this, that the new owner of the former 7-Eleven is planning to have a convenience store once again. So let's do this again, shall we? Enough is enough. This is becoming insane. We are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And we're done. We're tired. We're depleted. It needs to stop. Yes, it's been quieter since the 7-Eleven closed on February 16th and the fence went up. What's going to happen when a convenience store goes right back in? Where are we going to be? Where are our kids going to be? Enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean, if you could please come to the podium, followed by John. And please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
My name's Sean, I live in Everett. I never come up here with a prepared speech. I try to listen to everybody's side. I try to listen to everyone's feelings and speak from the heart. One of the things last week is this multi-millionaire that wants to buy that property, but it's got a blight. And he spoke of he would buy this property with his millions of dollars and support everything that's going on. Because there's only been 75 calls this year. Well, there's been 242 days this year. Divide that, that's 3.2. There's a call every 3 days, basically. It's ridiculous. Do any of your neighbors, do you call the police on them every 3 days? No chance. No chance. If you had to, you would be here. You would be me, standing here, asking for this. It's just gotta stop. It really does. We're in a cycle. We're in the down cycle. Some people have only lived there 10 years. I've been there nearly 20. Up and down, up and down. I ask you, the time is now. Please finish this and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, John, if you could please come to the podium, followed by Brian. And you have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is John Beal. I live in Everett. My personal experience, having started shooting dope when I was 16, I actually still am here, and I'm working with addicts and alcoholics. And the last number of them live right here on Broadway. Okay, so the thing is the people I work with, in my experience from what I learned from them, is that Cocoon House, Hope Works, a number of these places that we put together, or you put together out there for the homeless people and the addicts, that drugs and alcohol are being used in these places, and it's a fact, and I've heard that multiple times. And the thing is that I don't understand why, but I think probably you get a bunch of people together that put together a building, and they're housing the homeless, so then everybody walks away with a smile. They hang out a sign saying no drugs or alcohol allowed, and then they look the other way. Okay, if you turn the Waits into another homeless place or something, or whatever it's, I'm not sure what the plan is. I don't see that as changing much. And actually having the food bank right next door, I can see where the food bank, because I used to take drug addicts there so they can go get free phones and free food and all the freebies. I would take them there, and the thing is, so those kind of places attract, the poor. Okay, I shot dope. I was on the streets. I got tired of being homeless. I got tired of going to jail. So I finally got clean, and then the miracle of it was then within 5 years of me getting clean, I bought my first house. Okay, and so this approach to, and one of the people I talked to, she's actually an ex-nurse, a heroin addict, and her son actually got turned on to heroin the first time at the Cocoon House when he was 15. Okay. Her expertise as a nurse and her knowledge, the fact of the matter is that, because I asked her, I said, okay, so you've lived on the streets in tents right here. What's your experience as far as the number of mental people on the street as compared to the addicts? And she said it's got to be at least 90% of the people on the streets are addicts and alcoholics. The other maybe 10% or less are mental people, and most of those, once they've been on the streets for a while, they start to use as well in order to just feel good. Okay, so I think the problem, I mean, you could bulldoze that. Now, if you're gonna ban that, I think you'd have to ban the convenience store that I suppose wants to open up there now. I guess. And like I say, I really don't know what your plans are for the property once it's bulldozed, other than having tents and RVs there. I don't know, but that's my share.
Thank you. Brian, if you could please come to the podium, followed by Michael. Please state your full name, city of residence. Brian?
I'm going to decline to comment.
Okay. Next then, Michael, if you could please come to the podium, followed by Elizabeth. Michael Jurkowicz? Maybe he's left. Okay, next Elizabeth, followed by Christine.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Douglas. I live in Everett. In 2006, 22 Donovan homes were destroyed or moved from the Northwest neighborhood. That was a quarter of all of the historic Donovan homes. What a gift you could give to our community if we could restore that parcel of land back to homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine, please come to the podium, followed by Jasmine.
My name is Christine Buck. Thank you for being here and listening. I live in a fifth wheel in Warm Beach on some property after I sold a fabulous home in Seattle and don't want to live in a city anymore. I met Doug because he was the only person I'd ever met who could actually work on a rig, be honest, show up, and knew what he was doing. I need to give you some information about Doug. It's important. For 21 years, he did construction, knowing plumbing, electrical, drywall, acoustics, framing. He worked 4 years as a maritime welder, and he's been an RV technician for 3 or 4 years. So that's a little bit about what he brings to the Waits Motel. His partner, Emily, is very sharp and has been keeping the books keeping the books. Okay, I knew Doug, and one day we were talking a little bit. He told me about the Waits Motel and what they were thinking of doing, and I thought, oh my God, I come from a family that does this. In fact, I did it too. You buy a place and you rent places out, you bring it, make it nicer and rent it out, and it's a win-win. Okay, and I said, can I come over and see your place and see what's going on? I came over, I listened to the stories for hours. These people have got a plan and you haven't listened to it. I'm sorry that you lived for 20, 30 years with drug addicts. I am really sorry about that, but they aren't there anymore. They aren't there. And they won't let them move in. And they have a purchase and sale agreement. And they have investors, including myself, ready to see this through. You can't, I don't think you have any reason for condemnation. It was really quite a surprise to me when Emily told me, the day after we let it be known that we had a purchase and sale agreement, the mayor decided to condemn the property. And I thought, that's highly suspect. And I'm asking that there be an investigation as to why that is. Because I'm sorry that there are drug addicts in the alleys, but there will not be at that motel. And they have plans. They have plans Doug can do anything, to redo those rooms. Some will be, and they have already talked to the hospitals about traveling nurses and how they can be in contract with them to provide housing for them. You haven't listened to what they have planned. You haven't gone down there and seen the place. And you really owe it to your community to do that.
Thank you. Jasmine, if you could please come to the podium, followed by Doug. Please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Jasmine Nadine Thundershield. I live in the city of SeaTac. I came here to speak on behalf of Emily and Doug. I've had the pleasure to know them since the winter of 2021. And so I don't live here in Everett for a reason, because when I first came here in January of 2021, I was made homeless and destitute immediately by injustice. I was kidnapped later that spring. For 3 weeks, I disappeared and my family did not know where I was. And that's why I would never come here except I came here now today for them. Because I know them, and I know that they're safe, and I know that they would protect me, and I know that I can trust them with my lives, just the way that I'm asking you to trust them with this community. I'm very nervous to speak here, and yet there's only one thing that I can say is because I am an artist, and I find that if you want to make change, it is to speak from your heart. So I will read this excerpt because it does apply to this and everyone's pain. In our pain, we are united. In the darkness of our pain, it is easy for us to imagine nightmares more evil than the very nightmares of the lives we live to help us survive. For if there are more frightening circumstances than the pain of our lives that we fear, it is then that our nightmare realities become bearable. Greater still is it more to hope, and even more glorious is it to dream of beautiful things we hope to achieve. Because those dreams of good will over time become an ethereal vision of the world we will be motivated to create, the world that we live in that we are then motivated to change, where everyone, and not just ourselves, will reach the reality of our own individual dreams. There is nothing more noble or worthy of honor than the legacy of the ones who sacrifice all by laying down their lives for our fellow humans. It is through such courage and those feats that teach us all what it is not just to be a human. More rather, we ascend to become a human being. We must become before we can ever be. There is no change without opportunity. And without the opportunity to change, there definitely will never be any growth. I hope that you would please give them the chance to show you what they can do. I understand that there have been many issues fraught throughout this community, yet even so, you never know what the future could be or what it will be if you don't give it a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. If you could please come to the podium, followed by Emily.
My name is Doug. I reside at the Camino Islands. I'm staying at the Waits Motel. I've been there since May, I believe. So I usually have a pretty good relationship with the government. I work 21 years in construction, basically, and have had to work hand in hand with them constantly. Depending on where I was at, I'd started off doing apartment maintenance and remodeling, all the way down to, God, it was Lacey, all the way up to Marysville, I think was the furthest north one, and everything in between, basically. So I've dealt with a lot of counties. I've dealt with God, crazy amount of health departments. There's one thing I really like about them. It's they're bound by checks and balances. So there's a process that you have to go through for each of them, basically. So it's they come in for an inspection. They show you. They say, okay, this in particular needs to be fixed. You have 45 days, you have 30 days, you have 15 days, depending on the severity of it, to redeem the problem, basically. And that's just how the health department works. If you don't do it, then they got basically the best recourses of any other department out there. Relating to a motel, they can take away your license. They can tell you as soon as your license isn't there, you're not authorized to work or sell, the motel can be shut down. That seems like a reasonable recourse for something that's been going on for the past 20, 25 years. Shutting down the motel, getting the health department involved. Deciding that this place is a blight and needs to be demoed, that doesn't seem quite right. That doesn't seem like a general process that the government in general should be doing. That's super dangerous in my eyes. Or you can just look at a place, or look at police reports, or look at an area that's been, I don't know, like a park, a hangout, a mental institute, a hospital. You can just look at them, look at the police reports, and see that it's a constant problem and has been for years and years and years, and just decide, it's time we just take this over. We need to demo this place. It's the building's fault. It's never the building's fault. It's always the people's fault. Give us a chance. You've seen what we can do in 3 months. The police calls for the Waits Motel are pretty much nil right now. We're just getting started. We want to go a lot further. We brought the community together more than we ever thought was going to happen. Table this for like 6 months, come back to it, and you'll see that you don't even need to. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily, if you could please come to the podium.
Hello, I'm Emily. I reside in the Waits Motel. It's my home that I hope doesn't get bulldozed. I brought some receipts to help paint the picture as to part of the problem. And these are not even half, not even all. During 2020 to 2022, there was a push for all the vouchers. The Waits opened its doors. I'm sure a lot of motels and hotels did, since people weren't traveling during the pandemic. Snohomish County vouchers. There wasn't really a vetting process, so that kind of opened up the doors to homeless individuals with mental issues, addictions, criminals, things like that. And there was a time where the Waits was switching hands, and I don't think that was disclosed. And then there was a lot of squatters because the vouchers are not for over 28 days. They go week by week by week by week, and anybody who's homeless is going to keep on taking them for as long as they can, you know, as long as it's possible. Those vouchers, that money stopped. And what the owner was left with was a lot of squatters with a lot of different issues. And I came into it and said, we're gonna try to see what we can do to help. In that process, I ended up calling, oh gosh, my stack of Snohomish County service guards, police, everyone I've met along the way to try to help people who are homeless and dealing with mental health issues help. It's convoluted. It doesn't work. It's a broken system. You don't blame this motel. It's a broken system we got going on, and I really want to see it get better. In that process, I was calling directly the mayor, telling her, hey, this is broken. I've been working on a week for somebody that has schizophrenia or dementia to get into systems that work. What's going on? It's really hard because sometimes I had to turn people away and had to send them to the streets even though I had an empty room. But it was like, it's not safe here for you. You know, can't do that. This whole system in using motels for immediate housing is clearly needed because you guys paid for it. But it's broken. It really needs to get reevaluated. This picture of my mom, once she got detoxed, she was sent to Sunrise Inn, where she later overdosed on heroin that was laced with fentanyl. This was pretty personal to me when I went in there and wanted to make it a safer place for Everett. And we built, you know, we started working at it. It was really hard. I don't know if anyone here could have done it. If you're not familiar with the problem, if you haven't been in poverty, if you haven't had nothing to eat, if you don't know what it's like to have to tell people, set boundaries with people that are criminals on a regular basis, they're right in your face wanting something from you. What we achieved there was why this thing is, the supposed drama around it, is because it's worth giving a chance, it's worth preserving.
Thank you, Emily. President Solzheimer, that concludes our public comments.
Thank you.
Council President?
Yes.
We did have some staff comments on the relocation of residents issue, which I'd be glad to provide now or after executive session, whatever is your pleasure.
That would be great if you want to provide those now. That would be helpful, I think.
That obviously is one of the main questions that's been asked tonight, as well as at the previous meetings. So I'll share a little bit about the established process and legal requirements available to the residents. So taking care of persons that are displaced because of condemnation is something that happens hundreds, if not thousands of times across the nation every year, whether through a blight condemnation like this one or just a run-of-the-mill public works condemnation. Relocation is regulated under both state and federal law. A standard relocation process exists and it's routinely used every day by other governmental agencies. Everett doesn't have much experience with this simply because historically we haven't condemned many properties. But it is something that other agencies have done, like I said, thousands of times, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. The city will follow these laws, all the applicable laws, and provide all required relocation assistance, which includes helping displaced persons find replacement housing. By law, the replacement dwelling must be, quote, decent, safe, and sanitary. To name just a few of the requirements, the replacement dwelling must be structurally sound, in good repair, with functional and safe utilities, have a kitchen area, a bathroom, sufficient bedroom and living space, and if the person has a disability, be free of any barriers that would preclude reasonable ingress, egress, or use of the dwelling. So in this case, it would almost certainly result in improved living conditions for the people who currently reside at the Waits. Because of the regulation and standard processes involved, agencies typically contract with a relocation specialist company that does this as their sole business, and we would expect that Everett would do the same thing here. So the intent is for that company to work in tandem with the city community development staff to offer services to the long-term residents along with the relocation assistance. So the end result would be relocation for each displaced person that's fully compliant with all applicable laws, providing access to services for those who want them. Not everyone may want them, but for those who want them, there will be access to services, and an opportunity to relocate to a decent and safe residence.
Thank you for that. We are in our public hearing. Are there any factual questions that council members would like to ask at this time? We'll debate after we close the public hearing. Factual, yes, thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Hall. Sorry, I don't even know what, Attorney Hall. Do you have are they RCWs? Are they for all of the condemnation relocation laws? Being a person who likes to look things up and quote them, will you either tonight or very soon, like yesterday, have the laws that we'll be following?
I can give them to you right now if you'd like.
I would love that.
The Federal Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970 is 49 CFR 24. There's a corresponding Washington counterpart to that statute at RCW 8.26. Chapter 468-100 Washington Administrative Code implements that state statute.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Sure.
That is my factual ask.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryan.
Thanks. I was diligently taking notes. Was there a mention on if the relocated place is of similar or no more than what they're currently paying in rent?
This isn't my area of expertise. My understanding is that relocation has to be to a place that is at least as good as where they are now, and if there is a rent differential, then for a limited amount of time, which I believe is 18 months, the relocation assistance provides the difference between what they're paying now and what they need to pay in the new place.
Okay, thanks.
Any other factual questions? I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I will make that motion to close the public hearing.
Seconded.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse?
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely?
Yes.
President Stone Cipher?
Yes, and before we take action on this, we are going to adjourn to our executive session, which is expected to last for 15 minutes with action to follow. The city council is still in its executive session, and we will be extending that for an additional 15 minutes. The Everett City Council is in executive session, and we will extend for 5 more minutes with an announcement to follow. Thank you for your patience, for those who've been waiting. The council is back from its executive session, and I will now call for a motion to adopt the ordinance providing for the acquisition by eminent domain of the property located at 1301 Lombard Avenue, Everett, Washington, commonly known as the Waits Motel, for the purpose of eliminating neighborhood blight. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments before we take the roll? Who's going first? Councilmember Vogel.
Guess it's me. Whatever happens tonight, and if and when the vote comes down, I mean, of course, when. I am looking at this list of the people that are living at the Waits right now, and even though it's a motel and it's not supposed to be a living place for a long time, and the current manager knows that, you know that, we all know that. It is what it is. So there's still people living there. They need to live somewhere. We are in a housing crisis. According to legal's numbers of the law and the relocation services that he spoke of before we went into executive session, and knowing that relocation services will be available, and they're for everyone that's, I believe, currently residing there, could make the living situation for those people much better than it is right now. I personally really love what has been happening at the Waits. Somebody wrote in chalk, it's not the Waits, it's the does. And I thought that was pretty clever, because something magical has really happened there. And there's just lots of kudos. And I think even though the folks that have witnessed so many atrocities, and know that there's no fridge, only a microwave, and it's not the best place for everyone involved. I think even you have probably noticed that there has been a little bit of magic, and I would like to continue to see that magic. So I think I'm always full of hope, and then of course I think it gets dashed like every time, but I will still continue. And I don't know what else to say, actually, except thanks for all of your stories. They've been amusing and horrible at the same time. But something I learned at the jail today is that heroin, people are just not shooting up anymore. It's mostly fentanyl. So that sucks. But at least we're not having to worry too much about needles. That's what I have.
Councilmember Fossey.
So I think that we all agree that housing is a human right. And with what we've heard and our understanding of the law, and or at least I can speak for mine, that there is a huge priority, if this does go through, that relocation assistance and making sure that I want to know that the residents to know that the goal is not to have people homeless. The goal is to have living conditions that everyone deserves. A kitchen, a place to live that is accessible. So the goal is not to have them out on the street, it's actually to provide them accommodations that is suitable for long-term living. So our understanding is, at least my understanding, is that there is relocation assistance, that there will be a priority on follow-up and communication. And that is comforting to me because I very personally witnessed the relocation efforts that happened with Baker Heights. And there was some missteps there, but there was also some really serious dedication to making sure that everybody was housed and everybody found a place to go. And so there are lessons to be learned from there, but I think first and foremost, on my mind and as well as everybody else's is, I'm sure, is to make sure that our Everett residents remain housed and we're not putting people out on the street. And I feel like we've gotten, or at least I have gotten the assurance that that is going to be something consistently communicated with us on the progress of that. So that is a priority for me, and I think a lot, if not all, of my other council members here.
Other council comments? Councilmember Schwab.
One thing I really appreciate about this, the last 3 meetings or so and the emails, is the stories. It's very impactful to be up here to hear your stories and to realize that decisions that we make affect so many people. And I appreciate that. It's a nice reminder to be here and to listen to that. So this is really about, this isn't about whatever you think. To me, it's about the stories of you guys and even those here that aren't represented. I have a unique background with this particular building. I've been a service provider for over 30 years and have visited this site, usually in its downturn, and I can relate to the cycle over time. And I've been there probably more times than I can remember to provide service. And I see the stories of people, and it's very impactful. And I know I'll just speak for all of us. We're all impacted by your stories. But then I also see the impact of the business model of it. And I can see why it hasn't worked over the years. I'm confident that, and it's a priority for all of us here. I guess I shouldn't be speaking for all of us, but I just will. You guys can yell at me later. I'm confident that that we will find good locations for those that call that place their home. And we've asked for continuous updates, and it's something that we will continue to address. I guess the last thing I have is, the passion that all of you have for your community, and for those that can't be represented, I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
One thing I'll say along with that, in addition to the stories that Councilmember Schwab talks about, is that though different of us council members have different perspectives on this, different experiences, as he's had some fairly direct, I feel like every one of the council members, both in open session and in executive session, has asked serious questions, listened to the answers of the questions that others asked, and are really constantly looking at what's best for the whole city. We'll have some different perspectives, but everybody I've talked to, every word I've heard said, every question that's been asked has been in a spirit of trying to do the right thing, taking this very seriously, really being cautious about taking such significant action this way. And that's what I can assure all of you, that's what we're here about, and none of it is casual in the slightest. And also, I guess lastly, with respect to relocation, there's a real dedication to that. We're required by a lot of that in law, and if I understand right, there's a commitment to provide differential rents so that people are not impacted financially for a period of 42 months or so. So there are resources here, and as Councilmember Schwab had said, we want to track this. We want to be aware of it continuously, because this is something we do with great reluctance.
Councilmember Ryan.
Sure, thank you. So I think we all know that our social safety net has been frayed and cut so much over the years that it now looks more like a tightrope. and inequities in our system, which led us to this point of so many people in need and a lack of affordable housing and resources to support them is how we're here today. I think that the current owner is really lucky that Emily came into the picture. I think Everett is lucky that Emily came on board. I really appreciate her and Doug's vision, and I hope to see it come to fruition at some point and at some place here in Everett. Thanks. And thank you to my colleagues for their comments as well.
Thank you, and I'll just echo, I've been on council for almost 20 years and have spent a lot of time thinking about and responding to emails about the Waits Motel. And, you know, it's had its ups and downs and mostly downs, frankly, over the time that I've been here. But ultimately, there can be a renewal of sorts on this property. There's a lot of potential there, and I'm going to support the action to use eminent domain to acquire the site. I think that ultimately the city will be better off. I think that we can provide in this location, which is zoned for housing, that it could possibly be slated for different housing that will be better and healthier for those who would be living there. So I don't know what we'll end up doing with it, but again, it is zoned as for housing, so I think that that would be an obvious conclusion, that it would return to that. And that's not to minimize the moving of the people that are there, because as we know, moving is one of the most stressful things that happens in a person's life, and moving under these circumstances is stressful, but there are a lot of resources available, and I feel very comfortable understanding the federal and state regulations that require the city to take care of the people who live there and make sure that they are made whole over the next at least 4 years in some location, and perhaps a location where they will have a kitchen unit that I think would be a healthier way of living. So with that, any last comments before we call the roll? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
No.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. That brings us to the end of our agenda, and with no further business, we are now adjourned.